y'all. Hey, welcome to the Link Up. This is our third series. This year we've been talking about all things social determinants of health, and on our agenda is transportation and healthcare utilization. How transportation can impact how you get access to health care. But I also want to give space. First, I'm going to allow my panel to introduce themselves, but then I also want to give space to what is happening in St. Louis right now, where we are after the tornado that hit us hard, and ask you all if you have some thoughts, some feelings, some emotions that you want to uplift, to join us here at the table to share those, because I do want to give space to that, because I do think we need to, release like I kind of just did. It's so much built up. There's so much going on, so much information that's being pushed out. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's valuable. You don't know if you should ignore it. You just don't know. So I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves. Emma, I'm going to start with you. Then Terriale, we're going to come to you. And then we'll open it up to the floor. Okay?
All right. Well, let's just give it up for a moment of realness over here. That was great. And then just recovered and got right back in. My name is Emma Clues. I serve as the VP of Communications and Outreach for Great Rivers Greenway. So if you don't know us, we are a regional public agency connecting St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County together with a network of greenways. These are paved pathways where you can walk, run, push a stroller, roll a wheelchair, ride a bicycle, get outside. So we're trying to connect everyone together and give them transportation options.
Hello, guys. I'm Terriale. Right now, I'm a community health worker intern, and I'm excited to be here.
She kept that short and brief. She's a mom. She works full-time, current student in the CHW program at St. Louis Community College. Shout out to all my CHWs. Yes, out here doing the real work. Shout out to Terry. She been on the grounds out here. She was like, Shavana, I'm ready. Let's go. Where we going? Let's go. So she been ready, and she been out here. Okay? Give yourself some good credit. So I do want to open it up to you all. Again, I know, has it even been 30 days since the tornado hit? Lord, it ain't even been 30 days.
2.5 weeks.
It's been 2.5 weeks. First of all, the tornado, right? But this year, what is happening in 2025? It has been a lot going on in 2025. Who was some people that was like, 2020 can't get no worse than this? 2025 said, let me show you. Let me show you how worse it can get. So I'll be trying to watch my mouth when I be like, it can't get no worse than this. Because, yes, 2025, we just made it to June. And we've been through a lot. So I do, again, if anybody has anything that they want to uplift about how they feel with what's going on after the tornado, please feel free to join us at the up here. And yes, it is. And we're going to share the mic with you because we want to hear from you all just as much as we want to talk. It's going to feel weird talking to you and they can't hear you.
Come on down.
You can stand right there. You'll be close to the camera. I think it'll probably pick you up. No, he said no, it's not going to pick you up. I'll repeat your question. Go ahead. You got a comment? That's why you need to be on the mic.
I just wanted to thank you first off for having this platform. I worked with Pat Pendleton probably about 7 years ago, 4 years. So I had not seen her since we stopped working together. So I am so grateful to have been at that panel discussion, and she was one of the panelists because I was able to hug her. We were able to reconnect. So it's bittersweet because it was so good to see her. She was an inspiration. She was a mentor. She was many, many things to me. And then to learn of her transitioning pretty quickly after that really kind of put me in an emotional, just crazy space. But again, thank you for doing what you do, because I don't know if we would have been reconnected without that. So thanks for that. And then the other thing I wanted to share was I started immediately after I was going to say hurricane, the tornado.
Don't speak
I started immediately. I had a cousin who was impacted. So you know people who were impacted, and then you see the community. Some friends of mine whose homes were destroyed. So I just got out and started doing what I could, going over to O'Fallon Park. I know someone who is affiliated with several organizations, so I'm just doing that. But what I learned was I had to step back because it's very emotional. It was for me. I started feeling some survivor's remorse.
Yes.
I started having panic attacks. I started feeling like I didn't know what to do, but I knew what I was there to do. So this week has been the first week that I haven't done anything, and I needed to do that because I needed to rest myself. I needed to not be around it so much. So, and I don't know what everybody else is, what you guys are doing, if anything, but if you're not taking time for yourself, I really, really encourage you to do that because it's necessary and there's a lot to do. And if you're anything like me, you want to do it all. You want to help everybody. You want to be there. You want to make sure they have the resources. You want to be there. And I did that for almost 2 weeks and it wore me out. And when I'm emotionally tired, it's a different kind of tired than being physically tired. So just caution yourself, pace yourself, because there's a lot to do. So you'll have time next week to do something. The other thing I want to say, I'm really afraid of what 6 months from now is going to look like.
Yeah, the future.
Everybody is, boots on the ground, and people are trying to take care of the physical parts because it's necessary. There's dangers in those trees, on the grounds, and all those things. But I'm extremely concerned about the mental health of those people. I'm super concerned about the children and what school is going to look like for them in August, because some students will probably still be displaced. So school drives, I think, should and need to look different than what they did in the past, because there's going to be so many different needs or whatever. So I'm just extremely concerned about what St. Louis as a city is going to look like physically, and the mental health of us too, and not just those people that were affected by losing something, but those of us that are in the community that are concerned and trying to help. So thanks for the opportunity to speak right now, and thanks you guys for listening.
I think she unpacked a lot. And I just want to say, I truly agree with you on the part of survival remorse. I was literally here at the Del Mar Divine, and I left early that day. I went home, and I was safe. So what could it have looked like if I was here? So I think about that. And I'm shocked that it hit the city. I live in the county, and we are usually the ones that get hit. So it was like, what? And that bad? So I thought about that. So I definitely hear you with the survival remorse. And like you said, you get out here and you just want to help people. And then it's hard because some people don't even know what they need help with. And we're just out here giving them some of the bare, I hate to say that, because I don't want people to say, I don't want to take from what people are doing, but it does sometimes feel like the bare minimum of what people probably need right now. And I agree with you that this is some short-time work, and there is something that we have to think long-term, because what we also know is, and we have to be honest and uplift, I wouldn't be the Hood Talks if I didn't say, what is our city going to look like when we talk about now rebuilding? And a lot of the things that we keep telling people, don't sell or don't give your bricks away, a lot of us don't own. So are the owners going to rebuild? Are they going to say, we want to rebuild and let you come back to our home? Like you said, a lot of people are going to be displaced. And where are they going to push those people? We know that she did put $30 million up. Where is that $30 million going?
Who is it going to? Those are the questions that we, I'm sure, have in the community, and we're looking for them to answer. So it definitely is tiring because there's so many needs that's already we have not fulfilled on top of what now we have to go in and try to fill. And it is exhausting. And it's another conversation that I've been having is people who need the help usually ain't even coming for the help. And how do we get them to tap in and receive the help? And that is the hardest part. It's because there is help out here, but we're having a hard time getting the people that need the help to get the help. And even when you're on grassroots, when you out there talking to people, you can still hear and see the fear of them engaging with you. So I know, Terriale, can you speak to some of that when we were knocking on doors?
Yes, I participated with Miss Savannah going to the Fountain Park neighborhood. We came trying to be prepared. We brought supplies, we brought forms, we went door to door. We were asking community members what were some of their immediate needs. We tried our best to fulfill those needs. I really haven't checked back in with Miss Savannah to see how's it going for the people that we were getting back to within the next couple days. But overall, the experience really, it put a little strongness in my back, because I'm one of the ones out here trying to help. I am not the one that needs the help. So it kind of just gave me that sense of urgency in my community that I never had before. I've never had the feeling that I need to get up and get out and do some change. And this change is this small, but it's going to go this far. You keep doing it. You know, I'm 22 years old, so I'm just now getting out here. I'm just now seeing the community for what it really is. And a big thing that I want to comment on is the generational poverty. You know, like you said, what is rebuilding the city going to look like? What is the next generation going to look like after we rebuild this city? What are our children who've already experienced, displaced from COVID-19, a whole pandemic, and now a disaster? And that's what I'm really for right now is the youth. As we can see, a lot of our youth as of now, they don't take any of this serious. They don't feel the need to participate in any of this, even the ones my age, even the ones older than me. So I just feel my contribution is just awareness. People can't do what they don't know. So if you're the one going to be out here doing the work, promote the work you're doing. Get other people to get on board. Get other people to come outside with you. You know what I'm saying? So that's my piece on it.
And I'll just add, I really liked what you said about taking care of yourself. And I've been volunteering probably every other day, and I've been trying to do a variety of different tasks to take care. I think the same risk of burnout that you're talking about. So if you're wanting to help, but you're perhaps emotionally drained from the direct, if I spent 3 hours doing the intake line at For the Ville, right? So people come up, they have to fill out a survey. We're really clear about where that info is going and, who's collecting it. And then they can come in and get supplies and things like that. That 3 hours feels different than 3 hours of driving supplies from one of the South City hubs up to the North City Distribution Center, right? And so I've been trying to find a variety of tasks that I can jump into that help to keep it sustainable. Exactly like what you said in terms of I want to do it all day. I'm like, should we all just quit our jobs? Like, what are we doing? Like, are we all not out there all day, every day? And no, that's not the answer probably. But you do you, but, trying to just think about, there is such a huge variety of needs. And so if you can, get in where you fit in, but like figure out how you can take care of yourself. And that might just mean doing a different job another day. Like maybe you do have time, but you don't have the same level of energy or emotional fortitude to do that. That's okay. And there's still other ways to help, like just driving things around. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And one other tiny thing, I don't think we're in this stage of recovery yet, but if we get to a point where people have paperwork that they need to fill out, I'm a notary, and if I'm just going to spread the word, like if anybody needs that is the last barrier that anybody needs to be dealing with right now. Like call me, I will go anywhere, anytime, show up and do that for people. I don't think that's quite where we're at, but just like those types of things too, as we get into different phases of recovery.
Different stages.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's important though, because it's like you said, you don't want to have to go looking for people and looking for things. And a lot of times that's what's happening. And that's where the time gets into, the headache is the frustration is trying to go find people to get your paperwork and trying to find people to do this and trying to find someone to fix this. And there was a guy, we walked the streets and he was like, he said he needed some type of ladder. He was like, I just need the ladder to get up to my roof. And it sounded simple. And I was like, oh, can we just go to the Home Depot and get him a ladder? He's like, nah, baby, this ladder costs $300, $400, $500. And I was like, oh. And I said, well, you gonna get up there? He's like, I can do it myself. I'll lay my own brick. I just need the ladder. And I was like, your need, it sounds simple, but it's really not simple, because who got like $500, $600 to buy for a ladder to get up on their roof, right? But if we knew someone who we could say, hey, he needs this specific ladder. Here's the connection. Now you have your ladder. But still, I'm like, how you gonna get up there and lay bricks? I ain't never laid bricks, so it was like, okay, you sure you gonna get up there and lay bricks? But okay. But some people needs are sometimes simple in a way. If we knew what people were offering, then we could just connect them to what they're offering. So you uplifting that. Now, when you get calls, Emma, make sure you answer the phone so we can
anywhere, anytime.
I'll secretary for Emma.
Yeah, no, I got it. We got this.
We gonna pull a team.
I
together.
got no other notaries. We'll get a thing going.
So we're gonna mobilize this notary. But yeah, but that's important to know what resources are available in the need for people. And I don't think that. I think that again, we have to think long term versus so much of what's the short term. And I do think that it's gonna take us some time to get past this. And mental health is important. And I don't think we talk about that enough. And I also don't think mental health is, when you're in survival mode, that's the last thing you think about is your mental health. Telling someone to take a break who ain't got nowhere to sit for the break is not gonna help, right? And I'm with you guys. I needed a break. I took a break last week. I was on vacation. And I unplugged everything. And I just figured out how much time I spent doing work that I almost was like, it's unreal. Like even having a conversation with my husband, I was like, we don't really get to talk. So when you're in the go, and even just assisting and helping in community, and you're in that go, you don't have time to think about resting, relaxation, and because you just want to support people. But it is important that we focus on self sometimes and care for ourselves, because self-care is not selfish. So we need that. Moving into, if anybody else don't have anything to say, we're going to move into our topic a little bit, because thinking about New York, I experienced some interesting train rides. And thinking about transportation in New York, but thinking about here in St. Louis, like New York, how you can just get to all of New York on different train rides is like amazing. I definitely think they need to invest in upgrading some of those trains, but that's just me. But I just thought like the access to everything, like you literally can go anywhere on their train and get anywhere in the whole, I guess the whole state, right? And I think about St. Louis and we're so limited. There are so many communities you can't get to on just Metro. There's the bus, how they run, the timing of the bus. So if you don't have access to like a lift, I know like they have the little bikes now. First of all, I ain't getting on nobody's scooter. I ain't built. That ain't my thing. But I now see them in the city. I don't know how they work, but I see them. How really accessible is that to utilize, though? It's not for a family. It's not for a mom with a car seat and a couple of kids. That ain't really doable. So in our area, we really lack access.
There's a lot of challenges. I'm going to jump in if that's okay.
Please, feel free.
There are a lot of challenges with transportation. Obviously, from a Greenway perspective, we are just one of those solutions. It's way bigger than Greenway's, but as someone who has lived here, I've been here for 18 years. Some of that time I did have a car. Some of that time I didn't have a car. I have taken bus and train or walked or ridden my bicycle regularly before. I drive more than I would like to now, but I got to lug the stuff for the tables and things around town for my job. But we do have a lot of access challenges. And so a couple that come to my mind, and y'all tell us if this resonates with you, is part of it is the way that our region is built. It's easy to drive, right? So if you go to New York, having a car is hard and expensive, right? It's expensive to park. It's expensive to, like, you may or may not have parking where you live. There's traffic. There are people walking everywhere. It's just, there are some of those like detriments or downsides. Here, there are some exceptions. And not that we never have any traffic, but like compared to most major cities, we don't really have a lot of traffic, right? It's pretty easy and free to park most places, right? Sometimes it does cost a little bit of money, especially if it's like a sports game or something like, a special event. But generally, it's pretty easy to do. So there aren't a lot of those built-in ways to have those alternatives because we have, it's just very easy to drive. Some of the other pieces of it, we also don't even have basic sidewalks everywhere we need to go, right? So even if you are able-bodied and can walk or have a wheelchair or a motorized chair or, whatever you might be doing, the sidewalks are not reliable. They are not everywhere. They are not wide enough for two wheelchairs to pass each other. That's one of the criteria for the Greenways, is making sure it's fully accessible. They are broken. The trees may not be maintained, so then the roots are kicking the sidewalks up. And so then, a lot of our projects, particularly on North Grand, where we're about to start construction, we see folks in wheelchairs in the street. Yeah, I see some nodding. And which is incredibly dangerous, especially on a street where people are speeding because it's wider than it needs to be. So you can pass each other and drive in unsafe fashions. And even when the community engagement process that we do is usually like a couple of years of just building that trust with the community and figuring out if they want the Greenway there, what do they want to see. And it's really interesting to see some of the conversations about, we want to plant about 200 trees on North Grand. And that's a great idea in theory, but if you don't trust that those trees are going to get taken care of and that's what's going to cause those sidewalk problems, that's a risk. And that is totally fair. And we've worked through that. And over the last couple of years, the neighbors are excited for those trees because they know we're going to stick around and maintain and take care of that and make sure that doesn't create a new barrier.
Can I cut in on that, Emma? Because I agree with you. I don't think that when we talk about upgrades to things, that the city has to maintain it. So even if a organization comes in and say, "Hey, we'll do this work for you," the city has to make sure it's built in their budget to maintain it. You can put it in there all day, but if it's not maintained, it goes back to what you said. It's not helping the community. It's harming.
Right.
So I'm glad you said that you have to make sure that it's maintained.
Correct. Exactly right. And that for us is a challenge because we serve 3 counties. It's like 120 different towns. St. Louis.
Welcome to
St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. So all of those partners, the way that we were set up originally is that we would build it and they would maintain it. And that is not going to be the same in 120 different places. So in this particular project, we set aside a chunk of the budget for operations and maintenance because we knew that we would need to be working with the city, and they will also do a piece of this, as well as volunteers, as well as like in our brain, it's just all of the different possible solutions, right? We can do an Adopt a Greenway program. Maybe that church on the corner wants to adopt that block and do the trash pickup and let us know when they see a tree or something, going on. But it is a huge piece of the puzzle. And there's so many of those barriers. I mean, I just got to sidewalks and driving, but we could talk for hours about it.
Yeah, sidewalks. I mean, a lot of, in the community, a lot of deaths have been because folks are walking in the street, get hit, unfortunately, not having safe ways to cross the street.
Exactly. Can I talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
You are the expert.
Well, it's just North Grand in particular is one of the deadliest streets in the country from a crash perspective.
Wow.
So the particular area, so our project goes from Natural Bridge at Fairground Park south to Cass over to Spring Street and then south from there. So that chunk of North Grand, from the traffic study, there were over 700 crashes with someone walking or biking. 335 had injuries. 17 had disabling injuries and 7 were fatalities. That was 4 years. That's just 4 years. And that's just what was reported, right? Like, who knows how many other things were just not captured. So the street is way wider than it needs to be. And then, even with people driving, and it's the busiest bus route in the system as well. The 70 Grand is the most used bus in our region. And so we know we want to make sure that we keep places for people to park, to drive, but instead of like 7 lanes, it will come down to parking, driving, a middle emergency turn lane, driving, parking. So all of that extra space will be a wide greenway where you can walk, bike, wait for the bus, new places to do that, trees, that type of thing. But what that also does is if you had to cross this distance before, and then we do this, the crossing distance is significantly shorter. And when you look at some of those pictures, I mean, think about pushing a little one in a stroller across this distance with 7 lanes of "do you see me? Are we clear to cross?" versus 2 lanes of traffic and a much shorter distance. So the curb bump outs where they can see you and you can see them better, and then just a literally shorter distance to cross is huge. It's not even the greenway, right? It's just the way that we're rebuilding the street to work for everyone.
Wow, I didn't even know you all were doing that. And you said you guys engaged with that community first beforehand, before going in and doing the work.
Before we even start designing it.
Yeah. That's interesting because I don't know about you all. Terry, you might, lived experience is important. But I mean, like, you ever go to the doctor and the doctor is like, "Hey, just get outside and walk." And you'd be like, "Where I'ma walk?" Yeah. Where my sidewalk? Even my girls on my street, I live in Ferguson. I don't like, they can't ride their bikes up and down the streets. First of all, I don't like how people speed down the street. I have to tell them to stay in the driveway. And our street doesn't have a full sidewalk as well. But I was just going to say, like, in communities, in the neighborhoods, a lot of times we don't have sidewalks. We don't have sidewalks to just walk around. We don't, I know, like, biking, even I see some of the kids biking in the neighborhood. They're usually biking in the streets. Kids walking along the streets, the side of the streets. They're playing basketball in the streets because they don't have spaces to do these things, like on a sidewalk or a pavement or things like that. So
my comment from gathering everything that you all have shared, it just thinks about like how unsafe we have been living and how it is okay in our community. It's okay to fly past that car when they're going too slow and you got to go to work. That's not okay, and you're putting many lives at risk, just making that split decision. So I just think it comes down to the community being involved, like how Miss Emma says she's able to ask community members, how do you feel about this? And I feel like that should also give them a space to want to be more vocal in their communities and tell us, we need, speed bumps. When we were just out on Newberry Terrace, they said we were asking the people what were their immediate needs. They told us speed bumps. And that just raises concerns, but it's just like when you're this small and the situation is just so big, it just makes you want to call upon the ones that are in the higher positions. Makes you want to call upon our aldermen, our alderwomen, our congressmen. What are you guys are doing to make sure that we can live safely? And we pay taxes to have that right. And I feel like, a lot of people, they don't even bother because why not? They don't care. We don't care. Let's put the money into something else, and let's put the money into, I'm not trying to be political, but the recent campaign, let's put the money into street cameras. Let's start giving people tickets from the cameras again. That's not going to help the community. That's going to make a community suffer. That's going to give them court. That's going to give them everything that they don't need right now. So that's why I say we have to look into the people who are in charge. What are you guys doing? What are you guys focused on? Well, if you're focused on this, then your focus needs to spread to this also, because it's a problem.
Holding your elected officials accountable. I agree. But I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning of that is a lot of people don't even know that what the environments that they're living in, and this goes back to environmental justice. A lot of folks don't even know that the environments that they're living in is unsafe.
Right. If it's your normal.
Yeah, if it's your
That's
normal,
fair.
and
Yeah.
it goes back to your other comment about generational poverty, right? If you've never seen different, you don't know that it could be different. So I know it's like giving grace to that. And I think our community has to stop looking at things as, okay, I'm real and raw, y'all. Y'all know how I move. That's white people stuff, right? Walking around in the park or a nice environment or, having greenery is not necessarily someone else's culture. It's okay for our communities to be beautified. It's okay for us to have streets. And I do agree, it's okay for us to be involved civically. It's okay for us to hold our local leaderships accountable, because you're right. That's what they're there for. And you being at the age of 22, you're at the head of the game, right? You're starting off, okay, Miss Alderwoman. You starting off, right? Because you're right. You have to be. And I give you credit. You are way past where I was at 22, right?
Same.
Okay. You way past where I was. I really just started getting the game 7, 8, and maybe I give myself 9 years ago about how important it is to be civically involved and how important and how my communities can look different. And it's okay that it looks different, and being open-minded to different change. Because a lot of times if you don't know different, you just aren't going to want different. So we do have to encourage people to know that there is different out there and better. And not necessarily that it has to be better, but it's more healthier for us.
Mm-hmm. And I also feel like we have to start demanding change. We can't just say, okay, we have a disaster and now, we have to press everybody for FEMA. If we can't get change, then we need to demand change from each other. Our neighbors, hold your neighbors accountable. We all went through the storms and we all got it from different, perspectives. So same with transportation. Like, I feel like our community doesn't lean on each other enough. Just like how you said, it's white people stuff. White people, they're going to get the whole community to go to a park event, where, they're not getting anything out of it. It's just fun, music, and tunes. We see it at Forest Park. I think they do Twilight Thursdays. You don't get anything out of that. That's just for everybody to come together and enjoy themselves. Black people don't move like that, respectfully. And honestly, Black people, they want to be a part of something if they're getting something out of it and if it's for free. And I've seen it a lot, and we don't call it out enough. Just like, not to keep going back to the disaster, but a lot of people were out there benefiting off some of those resources that were given out to people, those affected, keyword affected. A lot of people, they went out and they benefited off of it just because it was there for them. And that's why we all have to come together. You know, if you need stuff, come out and say, I need, you know, don't take an opportunity. And that's why I say we have to like really pour into each other more. I feel like that's what our community lacks. When we start pouring into each other more, like I just had to coach someone on how they asked me, how are you on your third car? I had to get a car. You know, I had a baby. I had stuff happen for me where I had to learn. But I learned this, so I could teach you this. I could teach you how to save your money up so you're able to go put a down payment on a car. And you're putting a down payment to where you're able to own this car eventually. You're not paying on a car for the rest of your life. So that I just feel like not only, like how I said, community, you know, executives, the people in higher places, I feel like it's also the bottom feeders, you know. We got to get out here. We got to help each other. We got to promote goodness, you know, and like, you know, Miss Emma, okay, you don't have a car. Well, let's figure out another plan, you know. Let me show you this shortcut that cuts right in between Visitation Park, and you could get from Page to Delmar through a Greenway. And, you know, from me growing up, we had to go the long way. We went all the way from Page, all the way down Union, all the way back up, you know? So I love that it's some people promoting change and some people delivering change also. But it does count when you're just thinking about it. Think about it. Think about what you want your community to look like. What does that look like to you? What does a good, thriving community look like to you? And try to act on it.
I think that's valid. Yeah, come on. You got a mic? Come on. She got a lot to say, but don't want to get a mic. We need you to get on the mic because we want everyone to hear as well. And we can't bring it out there. Well, you ain't got to listen to it. That's play. We do. You got some knowledge, so join us. Come on.
So I just wanted to say, I think one of, Terry, what I want to bring your attention to, I think that if you pay attention to the landscape of the change of the communities, that impacts the power and the people that present to make a change. This tornado is probably going to shift that more than what it already looks like. So let's just take the schools for a moment. I grew up in the Fairgrounds Park neighborhood on Barrett. Mm-hmm. We had Beaumont High School, Central High School, Vashon was down the street, Elliott. It was probably the community elementary schools. We had the 3 high schools. I lived in a community that was so rich in resources, I could walk to anything I needed to do. But what happened is people started making more money and they started leaving that community.
History. Come on. Give us this history lesson.
So I think that we have to be respectful of those changes. So it's a little bit more complicated.
It's systems. It's the systems.
It's a little bit more complicated than those people that are probably still in those neighborhoods are trying to make it every day. So they don't have, some of them probably don't have the resources. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the knowledge. They tired.
The awareness.
All of those things are impacting those communities to not have voices to help change. And unfortunately, as Black Americans see value differently, that it's going to continue because nobody really wants to stay in the city. And unfortunately, the thing about this tornado to me is it's so many things, but we started leaving the city of which we helped create. We left it. Everybody want to go to St. Charles. Everybody want to go to St. Peter's. Everybody. Mm-hmm. So when you left and you took your money with you.
Yep, that there, right there.
And then you didn't have any children to put in the schools. And then the buildings are still standing and they're empty and they're breeding all kinds of other things. So it's a little bit more complicated than the voices that are there that need to sound for change, because it's not that many of them. And they are crippled by so many other things that being a part of a rebuild is probably not that's the first thing they think about when they wake up. And unfortunately, again, I think with the tornado, it's going to look worse than it does now.
100%. I can agree with you, Miss Deborah. One thing that I have made myself super duper familiar with is redlining. That's something that I study, and that's something that I'm learning every day as we speak about redlining in the communities. And one thing that worries me a lot about our community in particular is the room for growth. You know, we have so much room for growth, but we keep facing destruction. Destruction after destruction after destruction. That's when I feel like the people Miss Deborah are referencing, you know, you're tired. You don't want you can't even fathom change, you know. And I've always been the one to open someone's mind up. You know, I like to present endless possibilities. Always. So I say it's two pots, you know, both of them boiling. You know, I just feel like pour into both of them. You have to pour into the community and the community members as a whole. Because if you don't pour into the community members, the whole community will literally fall into crumbles. And I feel like right now, thank God we here for each other. Because if we weren't here for each other, it's like a nightmare. I couldn't even imagine it. I couldn't.
So I just wanted to hop in on this because obviously the tornado and all this stuff is bringing up a lot. And the thing that really stands out to me when we talked a little bit about just the sheer amount of different municipalities in our region. We know that St. Louis County currently has 90? A highly fragmented county. One that I hate this. Highly fragmented, you know, meaning that there are multiple governmental entities that you have to deal with, and that in and of itself is a problem. Absolutely. But I'm a city girl. We can't pretend that just because St. Louis City is one municipality, that city resources are not allocated differently across the city. Mm-hmm. And this reminds me so much about what we're talking about when we talk about things like redlining and stuff like that. Redlining is just one piece of the way their resources are differentially allocated. Yeah. And the thing that's really standing out to me right now, especially when we think about like where is it safe to be, how things have changed. My mama worked for St. Louis Parks and Rec when I was little. So 30 years ago, she was working at Gamble. And then they were asking for stop signs and speed bumps. People have always wanted their cities to be safe. Yes. They have always communicated to their older people that they wanted their spaces to be safe. Yes. Nobody has ever wanted their kid to walk outside and get hit by somebody speeding because there ain't no stop sign there. Yeah. Now, I grew up over on the south side, Tiffany, what used to be McCreetown, currently Botanical Heights. We also wanted speed bumps. Again, 30 years ago. 30 years ago. We got speed bumps 2 years ago. The older people probably didn't change, but the people who lived there changed. Okay? The people who've been asking who live in North... Yeah, and it's not just disinvestment, because the older people who live in and work in North City, it is a public service. I don't know if they get paid. If they do get paid, it's not a lot. The way that the space is allocated, when things like neighborhood services are allocated, the physical space in North City is usually larger. Like one person is covering more physical area. Yep. Mm-hmm. Because of the population. Yep. But it doesn't matter if your job is to pick up dumpsters and you got triple the amount of dumpsters, their dumpsters are still not getting picked up. So the resources are allocated differently. And because we sort of look at the outcome and we think, well, these people must not care about their neighborhood because look at these dumpsters. But they've been asking for their dumpsters to get changed for decades, and nobody has ever done anything. And so then you have things like this, which is like, it sounds really good. And I understand why people are nervous because, I mean, even now, think about it. This tornado just hit. We all heard, at least growing up, that tornadoes don't hit in the city, but it did. Right. And trees are all fine and dandy until they're coming down on you.
Yes.
Right?
So right, building trees, because let me say, I hate those trees in Ferguson. Every time we have a storm, I'm fearful that they're going to fall. And the cost to cut a tree down
is
so I hear what you're saying. Like, it's beautiful.
Right.
I love the shade when it's shading, okay? But when it's a storm and it's dead, I have one now, Lord Jesus, that it's dead and I need to cut it down. And it costs.
thousands of dollars.
$5,000 is what they quoted me for that tree.
So again, when we're thinking about the tornado, we're trying to figure out the place where it hit. We know the place that it hit. It hit some of, we talk about the Delmar Divide, right? It hit some of the wealthiest places in the city and it hit some of the poorest places in the city. The differences between people who have insurance and who don't have insurance. People who could afford to get the trees cut down years ago versus those who can't get trees cut down now. Yep. And then we talk about transportation. Well, we out there pulling trees and stuff down so that people's cars can get through, ambulances can get through. But if you want a private street over on Washington or whatever those private streets are, they can afford, like we was trying to get the dumpsters. Mm-hmm. They can afford to.
They can get their own dumpsters. It ain't no dumpster
in the city. You cannot get a dumpster right now. But them people over in their rich part on private streets got dumpsters because they don't have to crowdsource.
It hit in Clayton too, right? And those folks in Clayton, you saw them on TV.
Right. Those municipalities, differences don't make a difference when you get in a private what you call it? They don't have to crowdsource to get $400.
Just like the people who were cutting the trees down. I was saying they're gonna go where the money talks, right? If I'm a tree cutter, I'm gonna go where they're gonna pay me to cut a tree down before I'm gonna come to do it for free. Unfortunately, and not everyone, but majority of those businesses, they're gonna go where people are gonna pay them first before they go where they have to just volunteer their time and services.
Then on top of this, right? We're talking about how things change. My neighborhood changed. I refuse to leave South City. I'm not gonna leave, even though I can't afford it. But we watching how things.
That's a thing to say, though.
We watch how things are changing.
Justification and affording to stay.
Disaster capitalism is very real. The way that they over there, when my sister's mother-in-law passed away, not because of the storm, but a couple of days after the storm, and we was over there clearing her house out. People are coming by and slapping condemned signs. Boom, boom, boom. Not even looking in there. The city coming in.
They looking only at the outside. We saw that too.
They're only looking on the outside. But it looked like money to them.
Oh yeah, this is an opportunity.
It's opportunity for them. And meanwhile, we holding on for dear life, trying to stay there.
We saw people literally just walking through the community. And I was like, why are you here? What are you doing here? And they asking us questions like, well, why are you here? What are you doing?
It's a gold mine. They speculating.
Are you just peeping the buildings?
They're also portraying to be community organizers. I've heard of some developers going out and passing out water bottles and just being active, and they came back later offering for people's houses. Say no and do your research into your deeds. If you are an owner, if you're not an owner, if you're a renter.
If you're a renter, that's probably the hardest part, because you have, and this is why I emphasize for us as a community ownership, because that is my fear, is that we keep asking people, if we're trying to say that people aren't going to get this place, but if you do not own that property, it is not up to you. It is up to the landlord. They can say, goodbye, I'm not going to rebuild. They can say, I'm selling. It's not up to you. So you literally could be without a home. So as we're sitting here saying to, push money out, that's my fear, is you push that money out and you say, oh, we're going to give money for rebuilding. The owner can take it and probably won't rebuild because it's their property. So ownership, and we know the barriers of house ownership and how that is. And I do think that's another conversation we got to have when, grandparents done passed down their generations of housing and the generation has kind of let it go and sold it back or gave it back. That happened to my grandma in them house, right? She passed away. They had to let it go. No one kept it. So we really have to think about having these conversations generationally to make sure that people are knowing what they have rights to and what they don't. I take heed that the conversation is around transportation, but I do think even now within tornado, with the tornado and the destruction, and I think transportation is going to have to look different as well too. And I hear you say when she was saying about like the dumpsters, because even when we went on Natural Bridge, right, all of the trash bags and debris that was sitting on the middle of the street, and I'm just like, what are we doing with these things? Like, why are we letting it just sit in the community like that? I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been down Natural Bridge, but I know you all have done work over there. Like even the circle, first of all, that circle is interesting. I don't know if that with you all, but I know like that's been work done over there with the circle by Fairground. And that is really interesting. But just having the trash and things, debris, there's still like, even around here, there's still like piles of debris and trash around. And there's I'm sure we need to talk about where does this stuff go? Where can we put this? I'm sure there's somewhere for it to go. But it goes back to what she said about the infrastructure already being overloaded and underinvested in.
Hello. I would like to comment. I saw that the National Guard finally came and they're setting up shop at schools. I think about 4 schools in the entire city. And you feel free to bring them your trash. They will take it. That's what they're offering right now for us. The National Guard.
Is debris? They just want you to bring out debris?
They're not even hitting the streets. They're not even going block by block. They want you to bring it to them. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Seriously? And we're talking about transportation right now? You want people to bring you debris?
And yes. I ain't heard that one.
I saw it on KSDK. I think that's Channel 5. Red. Yeah. I saw it on there. I could definitely research it a little bit more, get that back to you if you're interested. But my dad watches the news. He's my deliverer. I don't watch the news. So he told me that he said that that's what the National Guard has declared that they're doing for us right now at this moment. I haven't heard anything else in regards to the work that they are doing.
I would say I haven't heard anything about the National Guard at this point in time either. I don't know if they landed. I don't even know if they've really made the announcement that this is a disaster to that extent to deploy anybody at this point in time.
I think not federally, but this is the Missouri
State.
National Guard.
Yeah.
So I believe there are about 40 people from the Missouri National Guard here, which is not very much, but there are some. I don't know what they're doing, so you know more than I do. But I don't think it's nationally been declared a disaster. It's a state level
I know the
thing.
statewide efforts has he deployed a few folks, but I don't know what they're doing, and I have not heard much about what their efforts are. You hear some from the city, but we know right now it's the community that's coming through doing most of the work, and we got to give a shout out to the community. They have been really boots on the ground, specifically in these areas where we know that there are majority Black, African American, and low income and under resourced communities. So we definitely got to give a shout out to the community for showing up in this space. And there's a lot of work. We couldn't just talk about transportation and not acknowledge where we are right now as a city, And as a people and as a community, we could not just sit here and just talk about transportation and not dive into what is happening here on the grounds. And I hope when we look back at this, we can say there's something that has changed that makes us feel better about where we are now. And I do think we do. We need all hands on deck. We do need more communication, streamlined communication, factual communication. And, we do need more resources and distributed in the correct way, and making sure that people are getting what they need.
Can I add one little comment on that too?
Go ahead.
The good points that were made about resources being distributed unevenly, not just from a government, but also from that private sector. We all talked about that a little bit, but I know some friends on the north side can't, regardless of whether it's tornado time or not, can't get contractors to come do work, even if they are prepared to pay the same prices, because they just won't go to certain neighborhoods, right? So they have some database in their system that says, no, we won't go to these zip codes, or no, we won't go to these neighborhoods. So it is also free market. It's not just, I just want to add to what you were saying, that there's some of it, you mentioned it might be charitable, but even for paying customers, not in a disaster time, it's just hard to get contractors to show up, which is a significant challenge for those who are trying to make a change or do something on their property, that even if you can pay, you just can't get 3 bids. You can't get, someone to show up and do it, which is mind-boggling.
That is.
I want to.
Who has that job?
You said who has that job?
The race of the people doing who are getting paid to do that work. Mm-hmm. They're not from the area.
They're not from the area. That too. So they definitely have the choice to say no, to come out.
I wanted to chime in on what you said, Emma. And not only do they not want to work in these areas because there's a database that says, oh yeah, this is the income for this. That's territory. It's big territory. Big developers. They're not going there. They're not going to mess up that. And if I could tell y'all one, I just learned about Clayco. Big developer. Owns a lot of the north side. Paul McKee. Big developer. Owns a lot of the north side. And the parts he owns are vacant. And he ain't rebuilding nothing. He want to watch those houses go down. So that's where we also got to kind of be bigger eyes and ears than what we already are. Take a look at what's going on. And when we're talking about rebuilding our community, you have to know that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort you put in, it's going to be a stepping stool. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a fight. So when we're talking about contractors that's picking and choosing, and not only other contractors, I'm hearing that people were never able to get insurance on their homes because they live in some type of neighborhood that just, you can't.
Insurable. Oh, wow.
And that's where the cost of living is what? Cheaper, It's cheaper to live over here because your house can't be insured.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So it's a lot going on, you all. Like she said, keep your eyes open, your ears open. Get in the spaces where they're having the conversations and really dive in. Do your own research. Don't take the Hood Connect word, the Hood Talks podcast, anybody, KSDK, whoever. Get out here and do your own research. Talk to your neighbors. Engage with people, because there is, again, I think for me as someone who works in community, there's so much information that's an information overload. I can only imagine for folks who are just trying to live their day to day and trying to figure out how to get out of these situations, and how to better their outcomes, how much this could be taxing to try to just navigate. So give yourself grace, but get into this space and really figure out what is happening so you can be aware, and do your best. It goes back to mental health, taking care of yourself, checking in on your neighbors, checking in on your community as best as you can, even if it's calling in on your people and saying, hey, how y'all doing? Do you need anything? We gonna really, it's been the community. It's going to be the community. I know we hear it a lot, and I'm going to say it here, ain't nobody coming to save us. So we got to get in the game. I tell people that all the time. Find your play, get in the game, and let's get to work. But also take care of yourself. So thank you all for sharing space with me today. I appreciate you all for joining us for this conversation, keeping it real and raw. Definitely tap in as we continue on this series around social determinants of health. As we keep the conversations going, check us out. Make sure you like, subscribe, YouTube, all that good stuff. Follow us on social media, and hopefully you come join us in person as well. So yeah, on that note, we out. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow us on all our social medias. And you can find all of that information at www.thehoodtalk.com.